American Secretary of State visited Beijing last week, and then we asked an important question. Does this visit by Antony Blinken mean that there is going to be a new chapter in American-Chinese relationships? But by the time the diplomatic visit by Antony Blinken ended, what is interesting is that both sides had come out with some very similar statements. While Antony Blinken and Xi Jinping did differ on certain issues, their solutions were the same. Both talked about peace and dialogue and cooperation over conflict. But within 2 days of Blinken departing from Beijing, President Joe Biden has stirred a controversy. Addressing his Blue Voters at Democratic Party donors' reception, he referred to Xi Jinping as a dictator. And speaking about the Chinese balloon that was shot down in the North American airspace, at the event, Biden said, and I quote him here, the reason why Xi Jinping got very upset is because he did not know that the balloon was there. There was great embarrassment for dictators when they don't know what has happened. The US president elections are still 17 months away, and Biden might be trying to appease his voter base. But the timing could not have been more worse. His closest aide, Antony Blinken, has just wrapped up a 2-day visit to China, and to many experts' surprise, the visit concluded on a pretty optimistic note. So the question is, why was there this ill-timed duality of messaging by the Americans? The Russian side has come down pretty hard on the Americans after the dictator comment. Moscow has now branded the US foreign policy as simply inconsistent, unpredictable and deeply erratic. And not only from Russia, but from every angle, and that's exactly how it is playing out at this moment. The comments expectedly didn't sit well with Beijing. The Xi Jinping government called it simply absurd and provocative on the part of the Americans. The dictator comment did two things. One, it brought out Washington's very confusing and confused strategy vis-a-vis China. And secondly, Moscow and Beijing have got another anti-Western flaw to bond over. And our correspondent Susan Tehrani has been tracking the story very closely for us and has sent us this report from New York. Listen in.
U.S. President Joe Biden called Xi Jinping a dictator shortly after U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken sat down with the Chinese president for about 35 minutes in a bid to iron out differences between the two sides and open lines of communications that were closed after the United States shot down that spy balloon that allegedly belonged to China. President Biden, in this context, said the reason Xi Jinping is embarrassed is because he did not know about the spy balloon flying over the United States. We don't know if that's true or not. And then he proceeded to call Xi Jinping a dictator. But this is not the first time that the president is not in lockstep with his State Department or other officials. While Antony Blinken made clear that the United States does not support Taiwan's independence just recently, you may remember that President Biden has more than once indicated that should China attack Taiwan, the United States would help Taiwan. Whether or not these comments of the dictator will be walked back by the White House, we'll have to wait and see. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.